I've never found much use in top 10 lists, 3x3s, and the like, mostly in the realm of purpose and criteria. What exactly sets one item on the list above another? Say the difference between a number 2 or 3 rank spot. Even 9 or 10, where does the threshold for dropping slightly off the list happen? Still, there is merit to other people understanding your taste, if only for them to accurately recommend you things that you'll like. The concept of a taste palette is a rather interesting one for such a picky eater. I've cultivated my taste around shonen and shonen only. And even when someone recommends me a new one to eat, I find it's a complete crapshoot on whether or not I'll enjoy it, perhaps because the guidelines of what I look for aren't clear. To that end, I've recently finished the Toriko manga, and watching Toriko's completion of his full course meal was immensely gratifying. What I appreciate about it is that each meal has a clear purpose, both practically and philosophically to it. And I thought, what if I do that, but for my favorite shonen? So that's why we are here. I'll come up with one series for every slot, and hopefully afterwards everyone who reads this will have a good understanding of what I love to see and consume. Also, we will be taking the audience's full course submissions. So check the pinned comment down below because there will be a stream date, and on that stream we will talk about all your full courses. The details of what the full course template should look like will be described as we go through this list. Now, I'm not the author Cherryboywriter, just to be clear, this voice here is Calliope, so I'm going to be taking a seat to Cherryboywriter's full course. So, we are starting with the hors d'oeuvres. Hors d'oeuvres. The hors d'oeuvres should stimulate the appetite and get you hungry and excited to eat more. Toriko's hors d'oeuvres for his course ended up being popcorn, and I think it's a perfect choice. While I wouldn't consider an hors d'oeuvres popcorn anime, that really is the closest comparison. While I did have a specific series in mind for this spot, I almost had too many to consider. Naturally, I enjoy a 7 out of 10 shonen as a baseline, so I could slot in an infinite amount of titles here. Ultimately, I looked deep down and asked myself, what's something I still crave more today? And of course, I had to give it to the manga author Tomohiro Yagi. So from there, I only had two choices, Iron Knight or Red Sprite. If we are comparing them as stories stone to stone, then Iron Knight is unquestionably better as a story. However, it is the reason for Iron Knight's better ending that I did not select it as my hors d'oeuvres. Iron Knight, despite being cut so short, still managed to complete itself. It managed to get time to expand on a decent amount of the themes that Yagi wanted to, and had a satisfactory resolution. In contrast, Red Sprite made every effort to do what Iron Knight intended to do, while also setting up itself to be a long-running adventure with many different goalposts and overarching themes for his readers to enjoy. Tomohiro Yagi, after his first failure, instead of going with something easier, attempted to surpass himself again by appealing more to his audience and merging that with his own style, and it was also cut short, even faster than Iron Knight was, by an entire 5 chapters, unceremoniously and without any second chance. While Iron Knight was at least able to feel complete, that would not hold true for Red Sprite. You might say the tragedy of this series and Tomohiro Yagi's career is like that extra bit of salt that flavors my popcorn. It makes me revisit Red Sprite, again every couple of months to relive the excitement and optimism of a promise that would never be fulfilled. Because today, over 4 years after the conclusion, my heart is still filled with the hopes of freedom and looks skyward daily, awaiting the sight of an old friend, so that I too can follow the red lightning that sunders the sky. Hors d'oeuvres, Red Sprite. Soup holds a special place in my heart as a food, particularly because I'm not a fan of eating in general. On most days I find finishing some meals difficult, either because of the texture, or some stomach royals that won't settle down. On some particularly rough mornings, I can't bring myself to actually consume food for several hours. But soup never seems to give me that issue. In fact, it rectifies it. Its warmth soothes my stomach while also being packed with enough nutrients to be considered a meal. For me, the soup category is for something that perfectly suits all my natural inclinations, and such goes down easy. I dare say that were you to write a series yourself, the soup dish would come incredibly close to the end result. This category may be the most telling of your personal preferences. For me, this series is the recent Shonen Jump manga hit with an anime on the way, Jujutsu Kaisen. Perhaps it's the many nuanced speeches about the nature of life and the human condition. Maybe it's the resonant themes surrounding the characters. It is potentially the way it has managed to make use of the new rapid-paced era of Shonen Jump, and adapted to the climate that other currently running series have been cut by in both short and long run. Most likely, it's the incredible misanthropy oozing from the entire work that makes me at ease. That at least someone outside of my personal friend group gets it. I'm not sure if I even get it, to be honest. Irregardless, Jujutsu Kaisen is stunning. I look forward to the new anime in every chapter from now until the end. Soup, Jujutsu Kaisen. The fish dish. The nuances of the fish dish and meat dish are slight but incredibly important. They are both meant to be full-bodied and relatively filling, considering they both come from live animals. But what is the dividing line here? For the fish dish, it ultimately came down to internal variety. It needed to be something that mixed both variety and depth together, while covering a breadth of things. For just like there are many fish in the sea, there can be many aspects to a singular topic, all of the same quality of importance and deserving of your time to taste. On this list of shonen, what series could potentially fill this niche? If I proclaim myself a devout One Piece fan, it would almost certainly take this spot. Appropriately so as well, considering most of the series takes place over water. A similar sentiment presides over JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Act Age is also another strong contender if I felt the story emotionally resonated with me more personally. Assassination Classroom would also be not far in the running here. Ultimately, I give the spot of my fish dish to a recent series I completed roughly a year ago. For a community so obsessed with fighting and power scaling, World Trigger is dramatically under-discussed. World Trigger is a difficult series for me personally to talk about, as I have nothing to say, and that is because it is so perfect at what it does, that I am left with no literal room to work in any sort of opinion or discussion about the series. It does that itself. World Trigger is a series that is singularly focused, its sight set on one thing, that being displaying the most strategically complex and numerous urban combat fight scenes ever put to manga. It is not a series about strong emotion or ever-increasing passion, as the series makes clear itself, but rather pragmatic tactics take the center stage. World Trigger is the esports of shonen, with all the complexity and nuance that comes with it. Fish dish. World Trigger. Meat dish. Filling is the word for both fish and meat dishes. But whereas the fish dish fulfills what I might consider to be my intellectual needs, concentrated variety, the meat dish is what fully satiates my heart. Given my taste in art is shonen, or subpar art pieces that only increase my understanding and gratitudes towards shonen, aka everything else, I'm no stranger to shows with a lot of heart. For my own personal taste, the meat dish is only for the shonen that is best at being a shonen, for the lack of a better word. Even for me, this is a pretty subjective and vague thing to convey, since it's coming straight from the gut. For many, I see Dragon Ball Z being the most common pick here, for the verifiable influence it has on the rest of shonen. Although I think Dragon Ball Z is a great pick, the series that I mentally labored over the longest here was My Hero Academia. Unfortunately, My Hero Academia's flavor is far too watered down by many structural and ethical weaknesses that stem from the new era of Jump's pacing, and Horikoshi's own morals. However, that's a post for another time and place. In the end, the strongest contender for my personal meat dish was Ushio Tutora, for making me cry like a baby and punch the air in elation at the same time. And indeed, it would be here, if not for Toriko. Toriko is the ultimate combination of everything I loved about shonen for my generation. Completely over the top, but internally consistent fights. A singular focus that never gets any less interesting, over the course of almost 400 chapters. Simple and yet gratifying themes that encompass the entirety of the plot. And a genuinely charismatic and competent lead to tie everything together. Toriko and Komatsu are lead characters that I can find myself relating to a lot. Least of the reasons being that both they and I share the age of 25, both attempting to live their best lives out in the prime of life. And certainly my life is arguably the best it's ever been, and I don't see that backsliding anytime soon. What else can I do but humbly give thanks for Shonen Jump for giving me the chance to read this. Toriko is in some ways a time symbol, as well for the last true generation of Shonen Jump adventure manga. In this more current generation, things have shifted to be faster, rarely settling down, or taking a break to breathe in the space they have created, whereas Toriko could be seen as a closure of the long-running battle epics, where authors could devote entire chapters to a simple conversation or side quest. While we still have some outstanding long-runners such as World Trigger and One Piece, I think it will be a long time before we see another work quite like Toriko. And for now, I think that's fine, because for now, I am full. Meat dish. Toriko. Main dish. I'm not even going to pretend to beat around the bush with this one. It's obviously Hunter x Hunter. I severely hope that no one else was expecting anything else. Honestly, what is there to say about Hunter x Hunter that I haven't already? Lots, actually. More than I could ever possibly describe here. And in many ways, that's one of the many X factors that consistently places Hunter x Hunter at the top of all art. In many ways, Toriko is just what Hunter x Hunter would be if Togashi decided to lean more heavily on the adventurous aspects of the narrative, instead of undertaking the grueling, philosophical, and economical efforts to portray every aspect of the series with painstaking detail. However, I want to draw a distinction in reasoning here. Some people have a tendency to think that not being able to understand something the first time is an additive quality. In a sense, that's true. I've seen this argument about series such as FLCL and Serial Experiments Lane. You could even argue that this sort of puzzle piece design is built into the works of Ryoko Narita with Bakano and Durarara. I do agree that being able to hide the intentions or themes of your work under layers is a good constructional skill. Doing things that adds to rewatchability is a great boon to any story. However, on some level, that's all it is. Once you've turned over every stone, that appeal fades. What's more is the reason why you are not able to comprehend the full scope of the narrative the first time around. If the reason you couldn't comprehend the series is due to some fault of your own, like being improperly educated on the implications of the internet, or your own adolescent brain obscuring your thoughts, then I don't consider that to be an innate benchmark on anything but a purely personal level. If not being able to understand something is enough to raise work to being a masterpiece, then the standard for what could be considered truly quality takes a massive hit. Not on the merits of the art alone, but because we ourselves are imperfect observers. Hunter x Hunter is the one series I have complete faith in. I know full well that I could study texts from across the globe, from and back on philosophy to economics to the smallest nuances of every game or profession to exist, and still probably not uncover every one of its stones. And even when I did that, I'm sure Togashi would have moved far past me onto something even greater. Main dish, Hunter x Hunter. Salad. The main dish by design isn't something really to be followed up upon. Once you've eaten the highlight, the only thing left to do is come down from the high, satisfactorily. The salad is the ultimate refresher. Similar to the soup, it all goes down easy to fit your taste. But the dividing line here is that while the soup can be anything that goes down perfectly easy and is to your taste, the salad is designed to make you contemplative on everything good life has to offer. For me, the salad has to be the series with the strongest sense of ideals. Something so perfectly in tune with the goodness of existence that it reminds me to always work towards bettering myself and to spread that with the people I care about. Initially, I considered Jujutsu Kaisen for this position, until I remembered that I liked that series for reminding me that humanity's garbage and it's not worth the effort to help save them. So the exact opposite of what a salad should be. Had you asked me 2 years ago what I might have picked for this, it may very well have been Medaka Box. But our collective opinions on that series have come full circle at least twice over to the point where all I can say is that Kumagawa should have won, and let's leave it at that. I even considered Yu Yu Hakusho for this position, until much like Jujutsu Kaisen, I realized that Yu Yu Hakusho is a story that takes place in a world without ideals, and also reminds me that humanity is not worth bothering with. Such is the nature of the real world. Ultimately, there was only one choice that made sense here: the now axed Hell Warden Higuma. If my constant referencing and quoting of the series are not proof enough that Higuma was a series that truly understood what ideals were, then I don't know what will convince you. The cancellation of Higuma is a wrong I can't forgive the world for. Salad. Hell Warden Higuma. Dessert. Perhaps the simplest things are always the hardest to talk about. They say you always have room for dessert no matter how full you get. I would assume perhaps because humans can't resist the temptation of indulgences. But in a more literal sense, it's just because your body enjoys the extra sugar to help it digest food. Still though, if we're talking about indulgences, I come down with a case of choice paralysis, because I could pick any shonen series that I like, from any score range. So for this one, it ultimately came down to a series that I have the most positive memories about, namely King of Bandits Jing. I could hardly tell you what I enjoy so much about this series at this stage of my life. However, I have the fondest memories of this short series because it was the first piece of art, period, that taught me that narrative could enrich my life. 15 years is quite a long time to go without noticing the storytelling thing had some merit to it. As a kid, through adolescence, I paid no attention to movie plots, or television narratives, or even to video game stories. I let those things slip past my awareness out of the lack of interest. So it was the titular King of Bandits that expanded my world by inviting me into the entire incoherent and magical world of his. Great memories. Wouldn't trade them for anything else in the world. All that glitters, even the stars, all things precious, even your life, the King of Bandits can steal in a blink of an eye. Dessert, King of Bandits Jing. And just as there comes a point where we can eat no more, we inevitably require something to wash it all down. The drink of my full course meal is Level E. No other series even came close to reaching this spot for what it does for me. For someone so fully dedicated to shonen like me, Level E is the perfect chaser to wash everything down. If I had to put into words, it's how infinitely varied Level E is, while also always leaving me left contemplating life afterwards. This collection of shorts created by Togashi stretches the limits of the shonen aesthetic to show what it can do under as many weird different circumstances as possible, and it really showcases his writing style. It's that perfect show that walks the tightrope of contemplative, mysterious, and heartwarming that helps me understand even the smallest nuances of life. And get this show is a goddamn comedy. Every episode will leave you reeling with laughter in addition to everything I just mentioned. No other show washes down the highs and lows of life quite like Level E. Drink. Level E. And so we've come to the end of my full course. With a full understanding of my taste, dear viewer, it's now your turn. For the entire month of February and early March, we at Shonen Ronin on our YouTube channel are going to be taking submissions for your own full course meals. Me and Cherryboywriter will discuss your full courses in a coming livestream this March in the pinned comment below. Below in the description is a shortened list of the full course criteria, as well as a full course card template to fill out. Hand these out to where you can find us: in our YouTube comments, in Twitter replies tagging us and a few of your friends, or in our very own Discord server that you can join. Thank you for watching, I'll see you soon.